Wow, that was pretty mind-bending. Does everyone need to maybe stand up, have a drink? No? Okay, you're good?
No? Good.
So we
Juan Galt next.
and covering some of the
Top 5 mistakes of Bitcoin self-custody.
We've made a couple of those.
I needed
we?
that. I needed this talk 10 years ago.
Yeah, I could have done with this talk 5 years ago. It turns out rolling your own multi-sig, don't do that. No, don't do that.
Or at least know what you're doing. Okay. All right, let's give him a hand.
Here's Juan Galt. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. Mic check? Yeah, good. So hello again. Thank you for coming. This is going to be a fun conversation. My name is Juan Galt. I've been doing reporting in Bitcoin for a long time. I'm a podcast host, a writer, and I've been in Bitcoin since 2012. It's been a wild ride, and I've become kind of obsessed with the question of self-custody for various reasons. One of them is that I made one of the big mistakes that people make in self-custody. I got lazy, right? I was, I got in 2012. I was a 20-year-old. I had no money, right? I didn't know anything about Bitcoin technology or software in general or backups, how to back up anything, what a wallet was. I had no idea. But I was a libertarian. I was interested in freedom. And so I heard about Bitcoin, and I bought Bitcoin at like $7. I bought like 8 of them. And I saw it go up, and I saw it go down, and then we had the first real bear market after pump, right? So Bitcoin stayed at like $5 forever, right? And back then there wasn't this, all this talk about ETFs and like, Michael Saylor on MSNBC, right, talking about it. None of that was happening. It was just like a bunch of nerds on the internet talking about it and like speculation and hope. And, so I just kind of sort of forgot about it. Eventually, around here, my laptop basically died. And what I did was I reinstalled Windows on it, and it deleted my wallet. It just wrote over it, right? And the process that followed was me trying to figure out what happened. Where's my Bitcoin? What happened to my wallet? And where did I mess up? And, well, this led to this sort of journey of self-custody. So the first mistake that I made was not understanding and not studying the technology, right? You got to understand how, if you're going to take custody, you got to understand how to take self-custody, right? Another thing that I learned is that wallet.dat files suck. Now, most of you guys probably have never seen a wallet.dat file. This is the files for Bitcoin private keys that Bitcoin Core uses, and the ones that Satoshi basically installed originally, right? And so you just have this file on your computer that would be a list of your private and public keys, and you had to like back that up, make sure it was secure. It was in a computer that's connected to the internet because it's talking to the internet and talking to other nodes, and it was really hard to manage, really, and it's still kind of a nightmare. So basically, wallet.dat files suck. Don't recommend them. They've caused a lot of problems. In fact, Luke Dash Jr., who's one of the sort of Bitcoin Core developers, very famous. He's a great guy. This is not to riff on him or anything, but he basically had an encrypted wallet.dat file on a public server that he had like locked down because he's like a super, shadowy super programmer, right? Like he can actually probably keep this relatively secure. And even then, his server got hacked, his PGP key got compromised. They decrypted his wallet. They stole like 200 Bitcoin, right? So if he can't keep a wallet.dat file safe on an online computer, who can, right? Now, we have better technologies, right? We have 12-word seeds. We have hardware wallets. There's all kinds of better solutions out there. But at the end of the day, you have to kind of, remember to well, you have to study them a little bit, right? So we'll get into that. Now, something else that I learned is you don't want to put off your backups, right? If anything goes wrong, if you lose your phone and you had some Bitcoin in there, grab your 12 words, recover it, move it to a new wallet, create a new wallet just in case somebody grabbed it or somebody can get into it. If anything goes wrong, refresh your wallet and move the coins out to a new stable setup, right? One of the things that people that I've talked to some people about, like Jameson Love from Casa, the Keys Casa is a very popular multi-sig wallet, is that even with them, they have a very good user interface with Casa. You can do multi-sig, everything is shiny, but people don't actually rotate. They don't actually, if they lose a hardware wallet, right, it'll take them weeks before they'll go and replace it. You want to make sure you always have a stable setup. If your phone goes, if your 12 words go missing, you backed up your 12 words, put it on paper, stored it, something happened, you can't find them, don't wait, don't do it later, move the coins now to a fresh wallet and re-stabilize your self-custody setup, very important. And also don't take pictures of your 12 words. That's very lazy, bad idea. Most likely your Google Cloud file storage will get hacked or somebody will see them and they'll be gone very quickly. So that's a bad idea. Now you might be thinking, well, okay, so self-custody is hard. Maybe I should just put my money on an exchange or a custodian, That's probably, they're probably more competent than me. Well, unfortunately, they're not that competent, right? The last 2 years, we've seen some of the craziest collapses of centralized custodians, right? On the crypto side alone, in Bitcoin-ish, Bitcoin adjacent, 1.2 billion for Celsius, almost 10 billion for BlockFi, 18 billion of a stable coin collapse with UST. FTX lost about $9 billion, and Silvergate lost about 13 billion, right? So, that's not great. And then if you say, well, let's go to the banking system, then maybe Bitcoin is just too risky. Well, we had Silvergate, Fiat Bank, 200 billion, full bailout. First Republic, 200 billion, Signature Bank, 900 billion, Credit Suisse, 530 billion. All these banks collapsed the last 2 years, right? So Fiat banks also collapsed. They don't actually have most of the money. They're just making loans, and sometimes their loans are a little bit too risky. So, the custodians aren't always that competent, right? And so at the end of the day, whatever you choose, wherever you put your money, it's your money that's at stake, right? And so that responsibility, at the end of the day, falls with you. And there's another issue with centralized custodians, right? Which is that fraud and bankruptcy are not your only risks. Fraud and bankruptcy are not the only risk. There's other problems. For example, there's organized crime, which have been using an attack called SIM card swaps, right? So organized crimes will basically infiltrate T-Mobile or some other sort of telephone network, and they'll essentially steal your phone number. And they'll steal your phone number, and with that, they'll start to attack anything they can around you. They know your name, they'll Google your name, find your email, because your email's probably out there, and they'll start to try to reset passwords. And what happens? If you have two-factor SMS authentication, you'll get a message to your SMS. Oh, here, you're trying to reset your password. Verify that it's you. Here's the 6 numbers, right? And then you put it in, and now they've basically taken over your email account. And there's a problem. Your email account is very important. Most of the services online, pretty much everything is built on top of email. Email was the first killer app of the internet. And so your exchanges, they're going to communicate to you through email. They're going to authenticate you through email to some degree. Your social networks depend on email. Password managers depend on email. Your bank accounts depend on email. So if somebody takes over your email account, you're in trouble, right? And this has led to real loss, right? So here's some gentleman who lost, 6.3 million Bitcoin from an exchange. They SIM swapped his email, took over his account, took out the money, right? 450,000 from Calvin Shang, Rob Ross, $1 million in 2018. Michael Turpin, 1,500 Bitcoin, about $24 million worth of Bitcoin, swiped from his exchange because they SIM swapped his phone number and took over his phone number. And there's other attacks, right? Somebody takes over your social media, they can start to reach out to your family, try to scam your family, say, oh, I'm lost in the Caribbean, please send me some Bitcoin so I can, go back home, right? That happens. That's happened to friends of mine. They've taken over their Facebook accounts, and then they start trying to scam anybody, right? So you got to lock down your social media. You want to make sure you don't get exposed to this very simple and dumb attack vector. And basically, the bottom line is avoid SMS or avoid phone number two-factor authentication at all costs. Do whatever you can. Put other kinds of 2FA in, like there's like USB related 2FA apps. There's like Google Authenticator, which is not related to your phone number. Anything else is better. In fact, if you have great security and then you enable SMS two-factor, you're actually creating a weak link that can be exploited into that. That happened to a few influencers on Twitter recently. Guy had like all the authentication methods, all the high security stuff, but he also had SMS. Well, you don't need to authenticate all the factors. You just need one or two of them. So they got in through his phone number, took his Twitter account over, and started trying to scam people, right? So that's great. Exchanges are risky. You've done some study. You're ready for self-custody. Use the 12-word seeds. They're good. Wallets with 12 words are good. They're very powerful, very useful. Don't take a picture. You write them down. You stash them. You put them on metal. You dig a hole and bury them, right? And they're great, right? You have a really cool, very stable, very simple structure. If you grab your seed, your 12 words, you stash it, and then you have your phone. Your phone has a copy of your Bitcoin private keys, right? And so if you lose your phone, you can recover access to your Bitcoin through your seed. If you lose your seed, you can move your coins from your phone. You're good. You have pretty good stability, right? Now, one of the fourth mistake is people are starting to encrypt their Bitcoin seeds, right? So like Trezor, for example, has a very prominent feature in their user interface where you can sort of put like an extra word. They call it like a secret word or 25th word or a passphrase, right? And people love this because they think, oh, well, if somebody finds my 12 words, they won't be able to get all my Bitcoin, right? The chances of somebody finding the hole where you dug it and buried it are pretty low compared to the chances of you forgetting that secret word. And what happens if you forget that secret word, well, your recovery path is now more complicated, right? So if you lose your phone, you have the 12 words, and then you need this word. If you lose this word, your 12 words are not enough data to get back to your Bitcoin. And without this word, your phone doesn't have all the data to get back to your Bitcoin. So you're creating a central point of failure on a password that you're probably going to be typing into your phone all the time. So it's not like it's a particularly secure password, right? And so it just really complicates things. And I've seen a lot of people lose money through this kind of thing. They'll put a password, for example, on the old wallet.dat files, and then they'll forget the password, and then you got to try to hack it forever, right? Or they'll do it with other hardware wallets that are more advanced, right? And so, and you have this question of what do you do with that secret word? Where do you store it? Do you put it in the same paper with your other 12 words? If you're going to do that, why are you adding an extra one anyway, right? There's no real benefit. And if you lose it, you have this serious problem, so you might as well just store it in a bunch of places, so it means it's kind of insecure, right? So yeah, bottom line, if someone discovers your secret word, they cannot take your Bitcoin. They can't steal your Bitcoin if somebody finds your secret word. But if you lose your secret word, if you forget your secret word, now you can't recover your Bitcoin. Does that make sense? I know I'm speaking really fast, but a little nervous, but is that sort of, yeah? Okay, good. Okay. If you want to do something like this, if you want to like decentralize your 12 words or take your security to the next level, use multisig instead. Casa wallet is very good. You get two out of 3 keys to move your money. Their user interface is very clean. That's a solid way to start playing with multisig. Very, very strong, very easy to use technology. So you use multisig. Yeah, it's much better. And then finally, now you've listened to my speech, you've gone and done some research, you really try to understand self-custody, and so you're ready to take things to the next level. Well, be careful, because there's another mistake you can make, which is building a maze, I have a lot of friends that are nerds, right? And their security is ridiculous, right? Like if and when they pass away, nobody's going to get their Bitcoin back. It's just buried deep, layers and layers of encryption, right? And so that's good if you know your way through the maze, but if you forget the way through the maze, you're pretty much out of luck. Like, you're going to have to maybe hire somebody like me, and I'll go and like try to crack your security with your help, but at some point you're just built the maze, right? And so 4 billion Bitcoin are estimated to have been lost to basically bad self-custody, people forgetting, like there's famous cases. Somebody had like a hard drive with a wallet.dat file, threw away the laptop. 3 years later, he's hiring people to go and look through like garbage dumps to see if they can find the disk drive. Didn't find it, to my knowledge. So yeah, about 4 million Bitcoin are estimated to be lost to bad security practices, to people basically building mazes. And so yeah, at the end of the day, it's very easy to get overwhelmed with security. It's very easy to think of all these theoretical attacks or whatever. At the end of the day, the most likely threat to your Bitcoin is actually you. It's your responsibility. If you study it, if you look at the data, if you use standard procedures, use the wallets that are popular, that are open source. Don't do anything too crazy. You're probably gonna be fine. Keep it simple, stupid. That's a great rule for most things in life. So stay within standardized stuff, and you'll probably be fine. And use hardware wallets. Hardware wallets are great. Some of them are better than others. I'm a big fan of Trezor, Cold Card, great wallets. Ledger, not so much. Little sketch lately. But yeah, hardware wallets are awesome. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm writing a book about Bitcoin self-custody. It'll probably be out next year. If you want to keep an eye on that, go to juangalt.com and sign up. Just put in your email. I'll send you guys an email. And we have a podcast where I'm putting out podcasts all the time. But yeah, I'm going to be writing a book about Bitcoin self-custody to kind of like, not like a step-by-step book, but just like generally mindset and sort of like how to have a general strategy for Bitcoin security and self-custody, which I think, people, I think a lot of people need something a little more straightforward from this front. So yeah, that's it. Quick speech. Just ran through that. Thank you very much. All right.